Jonathan Peters from Sententia Games. He and Monica Cornetti are basically certifying people through their strategies of how to gamify learning. And I was fortunate to go through their program, and I was in their first level 3 Master Craftsman class that we did in Texas, little bitty town, Comfort, Texas. So it was a great experience, great trip. But since then, it's helped me to understand how do I take a business situation and using game mechanics and game psychology to help people get a better understanding of what they're learning and make it more engaging. And there are just so many ways of doing it. So Jonathan's here to help us understand all of that.
Good. Hey, let's see. I'm not able to share my screen.
No? Okay. Do we need to give you permission? Here, I can do that. How's that? Can you share?
Let's try it again. There we go.
Good.
All right, folks. Good to be here. Cool. All right, so it looks good. So, just as we're getting started and thinking about gamification, I thought a good kind of overview and summary for this and is, hey, Jeffrey, do we have access to the chat bar? Do people have access to that? I should have asked earlier.
Yeah, the chat is working,
Okay,
and
chat
I can follow it.
Okay, good. So, well, here I can look at it too. So what I thought would be really cool to cover here today, just to give us a quick overview in the short time we have together, is looking at the 4, think of levels, or I often say intensities of gamification. And so I'll go through these briefly, share with you some brief examples as we go through each layer and each level and explain those to you. But before we get started, I would like to know what your level of experience is, so I can get a feel for the crowd, if you will. All right, so in the chat function, what is your level of gamification experience and knowledge in gamification? So you'll put a 5 if you're a gamification master like Jeffrey, in other words, if you've gamified several programs. A 4 if you've just kind of played around with gamification a little bit. So just some like points and badges and leaderboards. That's what PBL stands for, points, badges, leaderboards. So you've dabbled in gamification. A 3 if you've taken courses in gamification design. And 2 if you've read white papers, read blogs, LinkedIn posts on gamification, and 1 if you heard the term. Okay, so Peter, thanks for being honest. Vanessa's played around. Michael, we got a 1. All right. Juliet got a 1. So good. So a lot of us are starting and then sort of kind of on the scale. So I got another 4.5 and then 1. So this is great. We got this broad range of folks. Okay. So just to think about this, just to play around, because I like things popping up in the chat, makes me feel like there's actually people out there listening to me. It gives me some comfort level. So if you put something in the chat, I'm going to give you a badge. We're going to have a Gamification Explorer badge, so you can take a screenshot of this, print it out, post it on your wall, share it on social media. Okay, so you get the Gamification Explorer badge if you typed something in the chat bar, and especially for those of you who are being honest with your levels of experience with gamification. All right, so because there's a lot of new folks here, so we're new to the term, let's give a definition here and spend some time here. So gamification is motivational design. So I have the ellipses there because I always like to pause right here. And I should pause and say there's plenty of different definitions of gamification. This is one we'll be using here. But the reason to pause there is it's about psychology. Okay, so it's motivation design. Why do we play? What motivates us to play? Why do we find this fun and not that fun? So if, especially those of you who haven't had a lot of experience yet with gamification, if you were to think through, or if you were to anticipate going to a higher up to get funding, permission to do something, and you anticipate there'll be some resistance, You know, those folks that say, we're serious people doing serious work around here. We don't pay them to have fun. Well, if you swap out the term from gamification to motivation design, it might slip right through. Okay. Anyway, it's the use of game mechanics, and we'll take a look at a few of those, and dynamics, so the dynamics of play, and more importantly, in a non-game context, so like a learning program. Okay. So just as a good working definition, you can take a screenshot of this if you want to play around with this definition moving forward. So at least get a 4.5, so a bunch of 4.5s out there. Good. All right, so in the chat bar, back in the chat bar, what games did you play as a child? So we have some idea, we can work with some examples here. So in the chat bar, games you played as a child. Type those in. You can see the ones on the screen there are ones that were popular when I was a kid, so you can pretty much get my exact age. I am not on the mic, not on the camera. So keep those coming in while I find my Zoom. All right. And switch cameras to that view. There we go. That's a little better. Okay. All right, so we have Operation. Yeah, do you remember that? Had these that went like this. Yeah, Super Mario Brothers, Pokemon. Good, good, good. Let's move up. Monopoly, Pokemon, most of these. Clue. Okay, good. Careers. Yeah, so when we look at these, and as you look over the list here, are there some that you did not find as fun? Okay, or maybe others did, like maybe Battleship wasn't so much fun, or Monopoly just took too dang long to play. I don't know, Dream Phone. I guess I'll have to look that one up. Good. So if we're thinking about all these games and putting them up here, so to share this with us, so we start to think, why was that game fun for you and not for other people? So for instance, even though it's up there, Trivial Pursuit, I didn't like Trivial Pursuit. Right? Didn't get into Dungeons and Dragons. Again, it just took so dang long to get things going. So why did we like it, and what was so great about it? Okay, for putting something in the chat bar, I'm going to give you another badge. We got the Players badge, so you can take a screenshot of this, print it out, put it on the wall, share it with everybody, and say, "Woohoo! I got a badge! I got the Players badge." All right, so let's get back into those four intensities, four layers. Clue, yeah, good storyline, and specifically the cosmetic, the accessory, integrated, and then raison d'être, however you want to say it, reason for being. I was going to, before we got started, listen to how to pronounce this French word before we got started. But anyway, let's look at cosmetic. Now, this is where most people start, so it's a good place to start, and where a lot of gamification fails. So to use as an example, what happens is I was already given this presentation, and then I just threw some badges in there. So you had the opportunity to have 2 badges, and you're like, well, what the heck are we going to do with these? You don't care about them. And that's, it becomes a real problem. So your LMS might have, say, oh, we got points, badges, leaderboards. Well, points are really just a way to keep track. What are we going to do with those points? Badges, not everybody finds it fun just to collect badges for no apparent reason, and it turns out a lot of people are not motivated by leaderboards. So when we just throw something on it, we limit the effectiveness of our gamification. And so to think about when I was giving you those badges, sure, I was rewarding behavior using a game mechanic of badging. And how motivating was it? How motivating would it be over the long term? So there's a lot of limitations at the cosmetic, and that's where most people sit. You'll get those LMSs say, we're fully gamified, we have badges. Well, good. All right. And so I want to take it to a deeper level here to accessory. Now, accessory is when, again, it's when we're helping, let me say this more precisely. An accessory is when we're using game mechanics to help the learning process. So we're not really changing much in the instruction, but we're using game mechanics to help them remember something. Okay, so if we're wrapping inside of a story, for instance, it's more memorable. If we play with something, it's more memorable, and or on the assessment side of things. So I'm going to give you an example here, and to do that, I need to do some things with the sharing. And share computer sound. And so here in a little bit, you're going to see what John Meehan did. So he was giving instruction to school teachers. So before the school year started, they had to go through this mandatory training. He needed to cover everything mandatory, and they needed to pass. They need to get an 80% or higher on an assessment. And so hopefully this will go the way it's meant to go. But he changed it around when it came to the assessment.
So we're having a Pokemon Pick'em. Teachers, yes, watch your heads. They're solving math problems in each of these Pokeballs. They're coming back, grabbing a new ball every time they solve a problem. How many can they solve? Look at all these people racing. 2.5 minutes. 2.5 minutes. Nice work. Get them sealed. Lock them up. Watch your heads, be careful. Yes. Great review activity, crazy energy. I love seeing people get fired up about learning. You can use this for any course or content area. I'm gonna get back to the game. More later.
So imagine, right? Imagine people getting that excited to take a test. Right? So what it was instead of penalizing them for wrong answers, it was benefiting them to how many can they answer. So if they answered it correctly, they could run back. So again, the goal was to get at least 80% correct, and look at all the activity that they're doing to get to that. So it's an accessory because it's making it more exciting to take a quiz, essentially take a quiz. And so to think about how you could do that in your own programs. See, like I said, usually in school we penalize people. Is there something we can do to help them level up and to reward them for right answers instead of it's distracting from bad answers, so instead of losing. So that's an example, I'm sorry, on the accessory side of things, where we're just we throw in some game mechanics that actually help the learning go along. Where we get involved at Sententia is the integrated level. And so the integrated is when gamification is integrated with the learning. It's not a separate thing that happens, it's actually part of the learning program. So just really quickly about us, Sententia is the mothership up here at the very top, and we have lots of other things that we're involved in. I want to draw your attention to Friday Night Game Garage here. I'm going to invite you to join us just to play games on a Friday night to get your feet wet in the field of gamification. For some of you, some more advanced of you, to actually play test and to work and to see what people are doing out there. We just wrapped up Gamicon, Camp Gamicon, just wrapped up last week. Another one coming up in February. Certifications that Jeffrey mentioned, we have 3 levels of certification, and at the first level we introduce folks to our map, and you can see how involved it is to do an integrated gamification process. So there's 5 different levels, 6 stepping stones in each, and of course we don't have time to go through all of this, but the point here, if you look really closely where I'm circling in the middle here, this is where points, badges, leaderboards, the cosmetic, they jump straight into here with game mechanics, yet we need to lay down a lot of work before we get here so that we know exactly which game mechanics to put into place. So I want to show you 2 quick examples, and the clicker's not working. Click. Suddenly I can't advance slides. Not sure what's going on. Let me stop share. Oops, there we go. Okay. So here we go. So I'm going to bring back Terry the Turkey. So Brandon went to a level 1 experience in, it was an ATD chapter in Central Florida, and he came up with this one. So he went through in September, and he had this ready to go in November. So quickly in the chat bar, put a 2 if you own a timeshare. Put a, oops, I'm not sharing anymore, am I? Sorry. Put a 2 if you own a timeshare. Put a 1 if you survived. You went and heard the pitch and you survived without buying. Put a 0 if you have not been to the pitch yet for a timeshare. Get my chat back here. Sorry about that, folks. I quit share and then didn't bring it back. All right, so a bunch of zeros, 2. So Peter actually owns one. So for those of you who haven't gone through the pitch, you get this great offer and it sounds really good. You can get this great vacation if you listen to a sales pitch at some point during your time here. Just know this, they are professionals. They do this for a living. You have not had much practice raising objections and fending them off. All right. So anyway, what happens is they tell you it's there up front, it's in the fine print, but every year there's some sort of maintenance fee, and a lot of times that maintenance fee is more than what you originally paid for. So at Vistana, everybody who has a desk, so not maintenance, not shipping and receiving, not janitorial, in January, they field angry phone calls because this bill comes due in January 1st. You've just spent all this money on Christmas gifts and travel and all this wonderful stuff. You've maxed out your credit card, and all of a sudden this bill comes that you weren't expecting. So of course you're angry. You call into Vistana to complain, and all these folks that are fielding these phone calls now have to take SEC trainings because they're talking about finance over the telephone. So every November, everyone with a desk, so you, for instance, you didn't sign up for customer service and dealing with angry customers, you would have to go through an SEC training. It's boring, you don't want to do it, you resist it, and yet they need 100% compliance from everybody. So it's this very painful process. So very quickly, Brandon came up with this idea of Terry the turkey. So Terry has lost all his tail feathers in Thanksgiving woods. Your job is to help him find it. So you go out into the woods and you pick up a feather, and if you can answer the question, you get to move on. He gets the feather. If you don't know the answer, you go take some training so that you can answer it. Now you need a passing score of 22, so you need at least 22 tail feathers. If you don't hit 22, Terry explodes. All right, so he explodes. So what happened is, not only did they have 100% compliance, everybody took this without having to be pushed and pulled and prodded. Everybody took this course, and most people took it twice. Once, of course, to pass, but the other time to watch Terry explode. All right, so an example of fully gamified, integrated learning that was very, very successful when it came to compliance training. Another quick one here that I'll run through very, very quickly. Bring Jeff Home. This was created by Tracy O'Connor, also a master craftsman. He's gone through our certifications. And so the company that she designed this for, it was 80 hours of onboarding, 80 hours of onboarding for their customer service agents. And it was just grueling. It was click, 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 click. And so what happened is eventually they couldn't get people to stay. They couldn't make it through those 80 hours of training. And so people are like, ugh, I'd rather work at Starbucks, or not Starbucks, I'm sorry, Taco Bell or something. All right. So anyway, very simple story. So Jeff travels to Mars to see if he can open a warehouse and shipping facility there. On Mars, Jeff meets a Martian who helps Jeff find specimens to take back to Earth. One day, Jeff returns from gathering specimens to find his spaceship in shambles. Jeff will need to put his spaceship together so he can leave for home before he runs out of supplies. So how this would work is, here's what's in green is how long he has supplies for. What's in red is how long it will take him after he runs out of supplies. He needs your help. So it's a reverse progress bar, essentially. And there's different things here. So you could spin the dial. So there's mechanics of chance. Then there's scenario-based learning. There's different tools that you can earn to help build a spaceship and help him build it before he runs out of supplies. And then badges, or these phone tools, are really important to the culture of this company. So you get one of these when you get Jeff home, saying how many days you got it home. So and you do all those things and to get these more opaque, and then your goal, of course, is to get down into the green before the training happens. So again, 2 examples of very integrated types of learning. All the learning's happening inside the gamified experience. And then finally, the reason for being here. So this was one I want to share with you as well. And I hope that my because I'm not getting the usual things on sharing. So hopefully the visual quality is good, and hopefully you're hearing the sound in the last one, but I think you were.
Since long before recorded history, when humans first began to tell stories.
Sorry. All right, let's start over there. So anyway, Professor Jim Egan and one of his instructional designers, Mary Perso from Brown University, also came to level 1 through an ATD chapter, and they went back with this concept. So this is an example of this is a semester-long course, 16 weeks. Brown University has not been, until more recently, part of their tradition to have online learning. They have a very different structure when it comes to higher education. And so this, like I said, this example coming up is the trailer for this learning program.
Since long before recorded history, when humans first began to tell stories, we've asked ourselves a disarmingly simple, yet seemingly unanswerable question. What does it mean to be human? Meet Layla Kalami, an avid student of humanity who just happens to be from the distant planet Io and has traveled across the galaxy to find the answer to that very question. Join Layla and me, Professor Jim Egan, in Fantastic Places, Unhuman Humans, where we will attempt to answer the unanswerable by visiting exotic locales and encountering hybrid beings reachable only through the magic of fiction. With your weathered backpack in tow and me as your expert guide, we'll travel through 3 worlds and 6 realms, visiting universes called forth by such authors as Margaret Atwood, Edgar Allan Poe, and H.P. Lovecraft. You, Layla, and your fellow travelers from across the galaxy will enter the imaginative spaces of these works through a series of quests in which you use and develop your creative powers, critical thinking skills, and analytical abilities to convey to Layla the complexities, contradictions, and uncertainties that are at the heart of being human. We may never answer the question of what it means to be human, if there even is a distinctive thing that can be called human. But after fulfilling your final quest, you'll have a better understanding of the conceptual and ethical problems that arise out of any effort to represent our humanity. Layla came all this way. We should at least show her around, right? Register now for Fantastic Places, Unhuman Humans. Adventure awaits.
Nicole said beautiful artwork, and yeah, this is Matt Rockman's the illustrator, the artist, and so we've gone on to hire him for several of our projects because we really like his work. But the point here is that it's inside. They enter this whole world that during Dr. Egan's courses. So he did a separate, a different course 2 years ago, or a year and a half ago now. And I know in that one, he even maintains character. His avatar is really crazy about weird juices, like carrot juice, weird juices. And so even in the chat functions and the discussion boards, he stays in character. He stays in character and throughout it. So it's immersive is the point here. So like I said, just to put a quick summary here, cosmetic is where most people stop, and it's also why gamification often doesn't yield the results that it could. When it's accessory is so that's when we're helping or using certain game mechanics to help the student, to help the learner. So whether that's some sort of using it as memory tools, so they're doing something tactile with the information, the knowledge, and or like you saw with the assessment. Integrated is when it's all woven into the program itself. There's not knowledge and information over here, game mechanics over here. It's laid over each other. And then the reason for being is when we're immersed into a world of some kind. So we call it the magic circle, when we've moved into the magic circle. So didn't have a lot of time with you, but I did want to bring you back to and invite you to come to the Friday night, one of our Friday night game garages. They are in the evenings, so it'd be 6 Eastern Friday nights. They are not recorded because we are there to play. So we're playing full on. So you can see the bit.ly I grabbed from a conference we were at 2 weeks ago, and or the QR code should work. And more importantly, you got my email address there. So you can take a screenshot of this screen. Feel free to email me. This is what I do. This is what the reason it's big head is because I do nerd out when it comes to gamification. But this coming week, if you're interested in a platform that's for, so it'll be Blue Rabbit, bluerabbit.io. Bernardo Latafe's going to take us into the app. So it's a very inexpensive, fully gamified platform that you can put your information into for your students. After that, it'll be the next week is Oslo Metropolitan University, and so they have an escape room for onboarding students. And then after that, I don't know the schedule. All right, so come play with us, have some fun, get your feet into gamification. All right, so and have a great rest of your conference.